All right, we're live.
We're
I
live.
guess this is how this is going to go. And living in transparency as we attempt to. Mandy is running a little bit late, has a client issue, so she will be here at some point, hopefully. Um, you know, this show really is the way I live my life, right? Like, people say I don't have enough boundaries, which I think I proved wrong this week. But I, there's no limits to the truth I'll share, right? Like I'm not ashamed of anything in my life, and by living this way, it has helped me to be my truest self every day. Um, People say it's reckless. People say it's careless. People say it's no one's business. But you know what it is? It's my business, and if I choose to share it, I share it, right? If I fall in love with the wrong person and it's okay, right? Like that's life. We all do these things. We all invest things in the people and situations and sometimes they don't work out and that's okay. It's life. Um, you know, being transparent is everything to me and living in my truth is everything to me. It helps me be my best self that I can be the best person for my children that I can and everyone else in my life. Um, I try to inspire others to feel comfortable. Hey, Felicia, to feel comfortable in their own skin, right? To feel empowered and proud of who they are and what they've been through. I've been through hell and back, and I've been in many bad situations in business and personal life and everything else, and I don't regret a single one of them. It's there's lessons involved. Obviously, the washing machine's doing something in the background, which apparently seems to be loud. Um, at least on my side. It's life is just what it is, right? It's every day I realize it's this journey, and hey, Laura, it's this journey, and you never know where it's going to take you. You don't know who's going to be in your life forever. You don't know who's going to be in your life for a short period of time. You don't know who's going to be in your life and be important, leave your life, and then maybe come back a decade later. You just don't know, right? Like, hi, Susan. It's life is what it is. And I know it sounds like a stupid statement, but it is. You can't you can't control what happens and who comes and goes and who's important and who's not important in your life. It backfires, it blows up in your face, and it turns you into someone you're not, right? When I look at people's situations and circumstances, for me it's about am I bringing value to them and are they bringing value to me? And when I start becoming someone that I'm not, it's time for me to step away. Um, there's always changes, there's always shifts. There's many more coming, which I'll share in the next few weeks as we continue to move forward with this. Um, but this episode's about self love, right? And it for me that starts with being honest with myself, being accountable for my mistakes. And I screw up a lot of shit. Don't get me wrong, I do all day long. But I'm also the first one to raise my hand and say, I own it. I messed up. I've been in many dynamics that I created, not because I wanted it to be that way, but because it was just, that's where I was at that point in my life. And sometimes you have to remove yourself from dynamics. You have to remove yourself from situations and circumstances and look at objectively how it's impacting you and others. And for me, that's when it's time to take a step back. Kelly, you have anything you want to say?
I mean, I think you made some great points about, loving yourself is sometimes about setting boundaries, and recognizing that I, this isn't healthy for me, for where I am in my journey right now. And, um, maybe at some point in my journey, I can handle, whatever, but like where I am right now in my journey, this isn't healthy for me. And, um, yeah, boundaries are. I think, such an important part of loving yourself. Um, and just like you're saying, the whole point of this show, Transparency Transforms, is we believe in that through our transparency, other people are transformed, and that means that we're sharing our stories in the hopes that it lights a path for someone else, and somebody else, if it resonates with someone else, or they're going through something similar, or went through something similar, it kind of helps other people to know, they're not alone, and then if you're sharing your healing, how you're healing through these things, then it at least gives some ideas of what you can do that works for somebody else. So, um, for the topic today about self-love, I think the first part to recognize and to talk about is the importance of self-love and why it's important. But maybe even before that, like defining self-love. What do we mean by that? A lot of people talk about self-care, and but what specifically is self-love? What does that mean? And when you embody self-love, what are you doing when you're really truly loving yourself?
So if I really look at that, for me, it starts with my truth, right? It starts with being honest with myself. It starts with being so bluntly, transparently honest with myself that my over analytical mind will used to default to shredding myself, right? Now I call it hyper acutely self aware, right? And it helps me stay within my core values with every decision and choice that I make. And they don't always seem perfect, and they're not. Don't get me wrong. Like there's nothing about this journey that's perfect at all. Um, I guess Kelly had to go, so it's just me now, guys. Good luck. Self love for me, when I really started understanding it, is when I started putting myself first. When I started putting myself ahead of any outside factors, including my children. Because if I am not loving myself, then how can I love my children properly? Everybody kind of knows my story, what I've been through, what I went through to protect them. My healing journey is all over the internet and easy to find. Um, but if I didn't love myself first, I would never be able to take care of my children. And it's simple acts like the truth. It's simple acts like, um, just being so brutally honest with myself that it hurts, right? It hurts.
Yeah.
And owning my side
Yeah.
and being accountable.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to do that at times. Mandy's not going to make it today. Her client's having issues, so I'm not getting into that. That's not my business to be transparent about.
And my hot water is out, and they just got here to fix it. So,
So
life
yeah,
happens.
and we have the washing machine going in the background, which apparently is much louder than I thought it was. But when I
It's
said
really
that,
not. It's really not. I
really,
can't
it's just on my side.
hear.
So that's where my OCD comes in. Okay, cool. But like, it's simple acts: putting yourself first, listening to your inner voice instead of an outside voice, um, believing in yourself to such an extent that no outside factor can take away your self worth. Um, man, I have so many mistakes around that one. Oh, man, did I attach my self worth to many things outside of myself for a very long time.
But
And
I think that's so normal, and and that's where we get that importance of self love, is when I think it's natural and normal for us to attach our worthiness to external sources. Like, we learn from a very young age, that other people's approval is important, and our own experiences and traumas create that. Um, I don't think that we're born not loving ourselves. I think that it's conditioned into us. I think that Um, yeah, and not to anyone's fault, but just I think that's um, it's something that we're constantly reconditioning, right? That we have to learn to accept that, or to learn to find that validation and that worth internally, and not that as humans we don't need support and love, from others. We need connection as a human being, like that's part of our makeup. Um, but when we rely on other people for our sense of worthiness, then um, we're coming from that place of lack, and that um, it's just not a fair dynamic. It creates codependency and so many other things that um, yeah.
You know, it's funny because I'm very talented in business. I'm very talented in business strategy. And as this journey started, I had an extremely low self worth and an extremely low personal value, zero understanding to what personal freedom was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm still learning every day, right? This is a never ending journey. Um, but I used to default to my business strategy to build my worth and try to prove to other people that I'm worth it. What I've realized now is that was a form of manipulation and control, which I never understood. And meanwhile, the intent was never there because I was a hurt person, so hurt people hurt people. Um, I've put myself in the past in many different situations to where I just wanted to be valued and I wanted to be appreciated. So I would leverage what I was most confident in. Um, and it put me in positions of tremendous imbalance in my life because I would give, and then resent, right? I think a lot of my self love realization started around that truth. It started around, you know what, I'm worth it whether I bring business strategy to the table or not. I have a value no matter what. I, I'm loved no matter what. I love others no matter what. It's this is deep truth right here. I'm telling you, like, this is not stuff that I'm used to talking about at this level, but it's true. This is where I'm at, right? Like, this is my state right now. And as I'm evolving and learning and understanding myself at a deeper level, I don't want to make the same mistakes I've made before. I see my patterns and I see my behaviors, and I can't change what I've already done. But what I can do is stop those from continuing, right? When I speak to people now, even about business, about anything that I'm there for, um, I truly have no expectations of anything in return because it's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it just to give because I know it always comes back in different ways. I know if I put it into the universe, it's going to come back. I know that when my intent is pure, what I create is as well. And, integrity is a big one for me. And when I couldn't keep my own integrity many times in the past, um, it really put me down this shame spiral, right? So when I've put myself in situations and because of the giving and the way that I do things, sometimes things just don't align anymore and things shift. Hey, DJ. Hey,
I
Randy.
think what I want to like connect about what you're saying is that when we come from this place of loving ourselves, right? When we come from a place of I love myself, I know my worth, then when we are giving and doing for others, we're not coming from a manipulative place, right? We're not coming from this like I have to prove myself. Like when we can you not hear me?
Oh no, I can. I just want to get the sound better.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
driving me nuts.
so just the importance of like self love is important for you as an individual, for each of us as an individual. It's important for our own health and healing and whatever, well being. But it also is important for our relationships with others because it impacts the place that we come from, right? It means that we're coming from a place of healing rather than hurt, right? You said hurt people hurt people. Well, healing people heal people. You know, and when we come from that place where we are looking for others for our worthiness, that's a hurt place. And when we come from a place of self love and we truly embrace and know our worthiness, then we're doing the opposite.
I think. Can you hear me now through the AirPods or no? Or is it still the speaker on the computer? Who knows? If you're talking to me, you're on mute already. So we're having a good back and forth right now, Kelly. This is good. You already muted yourself. Yeah, yeah, we're good.
You're quieter, but I can hear you.
Okay, so that's funny because I hear you better, but I'm quieter, which is okay because maybe I just say too much. So maybe that's a sign.
It's not the volume, it's the number of words.
So
Love
maybe
you.
when I'm looking at situations and circumstances, and I'm looking at new situations and circumstances, I'm going to learn from the old. And I'm not going to repeat the same mistakes. And I'm not going to give in to my insecurities or fears. I'm not going to want to go to a place of blame and shame. I'm not going to want to go to a place of devaluing self. Um, I think as we take this evolutionary journey, um, we learn to appreciate and respect ourselves in a different way. We learn to be more accountable, own our past and own our story, feel safe within ourselves enough to share it because it's so important to inspire others. But what I learned is I don't want to do it for others anymore because I can't. I don't want to do their journey for them. I don't want to push somebody to be something they're not. I don't want to. I want to inspire somebody to be self inspired. I want them to want to do it for themselves, but but me lead by example, or them lead me by example, because I learn through every interaction and every person in my life.
I think this goes back to what you were saying about control, right? We can't control anyone, and everyone has their own journey. And my perception of what someone else should or whatever be doing, I have no. That's not my journey. I have no. That comes from a place of judgment, right? I have no. I may have some intuition or some insight into something that could help someone, but what they decide to do with that information is completely up to them. It's their journey. When we come from that place of control, that's not, forget self love, that's just not a loving place.
And it's tough for me at times, right? Because of what I've been through and what I've gone through, and so much, so many different circumstances where I've felt my life was out of control because I had no control over myself. I had no ability to understand why I kept doing the same things over and over and why I would make the same mistakes. Um, and yeah, I spent time in judgment. I spent time judging others. I spent time trying to control again, right? Like I've talked about this many times, and it doesn't bring out the best in me. It's not, it doesn't inspire me to be self-inspired or empower me to be self-empowered, and it brings out a side of me that I don't like. Um, so that's when I'm gonna start taking steps back more. That's where I'm gonna learn that my boundaries need to be, right? As I learn and understand better what boundaries are and should be. Um, I'm here to love and guide and inspire and be inspired daily by everyone in my life, by every person I interact with. There's a lesson from every conversation. There's something to learn from every person. There's no title, there's no role, there's no any of these things that, you know, have an impact on what a value that somebody can bring to your life. And again, when I start getting into that mode of I want to fix, I want to save, I want to change, I want to do this, I can't be the rescuer. I can't save somebody who doesn't want to be saved, and I can't save anyone but myself. I can help somebody else save themselves. I can guide them. I can show them. I can give them steps to take for themselves, but I can't do it for them. And this whole self love journey, right? And I've been working with Kelly and her self love program and intimacy program and whatever the rest of the title is. Um, I've been doing that for a couple months now, and it's changing my life completely. I'm working with Mandy too on EMDR, right? And it's changing my life completely. It's removing triggers. It's helping me to. Thank you, DJ. I appreciate it. Um, and there's many others that I work with, and there's many others that I talk to. Even like DJ, right? She says you're guiding and helped me so much, but the reality is, I get just as much from her as she does from me. I miss our interactions because our interactions inspire me. I learn something new about myself every time, and I see different ways. Every conversation, every interaction, it's just, there's always that opportunity to grow and learn and expand. And, I think that when we start valuing our time more than anyone else's, and when we start valuing our voice more than anyone else's, when we stop looking at the lessons and start looking at results, I think it's over already. Yes, Felicia. Felicia is amazing. Her new show is just going to be mind blowing. I don't remember if she started already because I'm busy with kids a little bit. But her show's amazing. Felicia's amazing. If you do not know Felicia, connect with Felicia immediately. Never speak to her, but schedule on her show. Because that's the magic with Felicia. It's for us to allow ourselves to feel and be within magic. We need to understand, appreciate, be self aware, and love ourselves. And self love is, for me, it's as simple as not hitting snooze on the alarm and getting up no matter how tired I am. It's as simple as going downstairs, getting my coffee because I love my coffee. And I don't care who says what, I want my damn coffee. I love my coffee. I have 3 kids by myself. I need coffee, but I do love it. It's little things because when you start making these little steps and you start appreciating yourself on a different level, then things go to a different level. And when you're open to possibilities, it becomes limitless. We trap ourselves.
One of the things I love about what you just said was, in a very practical way, that self love for you is not hitting the snooze button and getting coffee, and maybe some days self love is hitting the snooze button. That the key to self love is listening to yourself and checking in and figuring out what it is that you need, and that can be um, that it just looks different, right? Like it looks different for every person and it looks different every day. I think showing ourselves those practical acts of love, this is something I talk about a lot. Um, on my Instagram and TikTok, every day how are you loving yourself today? What are those little practical ways that you're loving yourself? And that's part of how we cultivate a real self-love for ourselves, is actively loving ourselves like we would want a partner to love us. Um, so I just like that you pointed out some practical things, but I just wanted to note that sometimes it looks different. Sometimes self-love is hitting the snooze button and saying, I need more time, or turning off the alarm. Sometimes it's going to work out even though I really don't want to, because that's what my body needs. Sometimes it's not working out because it's not what my body needs, you know? The key there, I think, is just really listening to what we need in the moment. And that's just the practical action of self-love. There's so many other aspects to it, but
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's meditation too, right? Like meditation, starting my day with meditation, starting my day writing, journaling, whatever it is. I don't know if it's really called journaling, but that's fine. We both actually wrote a chapter for a book that's on self love that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks, which is crazy because I never thought I'd do anything like that. Don't know what I was thinking. Um, but I mean, it's every little thing, it's every decision. It's about being aware of each decision, right? And one of the things for me, right, and I don't want to harp on stuff like this, but it's not making the little bad decisions and thinking it's okay.
holding
Because
yourself accountable.
for me that's big,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if I make a little bad decision, then I start going into the gray area and saying, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay." And then, a few weeks later it's like, "Where'd I go?" Right?
Turning
Like,
into patterns. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I don't want to go there anymore. And great, like I said, everyone makes mistakes. I make tons of them, tons. But it's that accountability part. Being honest with myself to a fault and being like, wow, I really screwed some shit up, right? Like, I mean, a coming to Jesus moment, I guess you can call it for lack of argument terms, even though I don't think he would be like that. But that's besides the point. Um, like when really looking at it, it's like there's so much in life to value and to show ourselves love, to show ourselves how we value ourselves. But we discount that so regularly. And we say, you know what? If I'm going to make this little decision, it's not going to change anything. I'm still on the path, right? And the only thing I can compare it to is drinking, right? I've been sober, God, 15 and a half years now. Is that right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So 2006, June. Yep. Okay. Had to do math in my head real quick, and apparently I was going backwards for some reason. But like, I can't take that first drink, and I might be able to. So let's not. I might be healed, right? I might be one of those people that was actually healed from it because I don't need to fill voids anymore. But I can tell you for a fact, I'm not taking that first drink because just because it's a minor gray area, and maybe I can, I know it doesn't bring out the best in me. I know that I am so much better off when I'm just me, when I'm comfortable in my own skin, when I'm just being present to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it reflects outwards to everyone else. It changes. You know, People always ask me, how can you tell something's off? How do you know something's off? How do you feel something's off? Because it's the little actions. We all have patterns and behaviors and slight little nuances to how we act at certain times based on certain things. And I just pick up on them right away,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's part intuition, it's part of being a true empath, and then it's part of just being extremely overly observant, which is definitely a blessing and curse, which we could do a whole show on that at some point too. Um, to be in my life in a strong capacity, it takes a very strong human being that can handle that observation of their life. Um, and someone that's comfortable enough in their own skin to say, screw you, it doesn't matter. Like, and that's okay too, because everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I've had a lot go on lately, and I just feel like such a different person that it's hard to remember where I came from with some of these mistakes, even if I'm just getting out of them. But they're real, they're there, they didn't go away, and now it's just time to shift. We could always change course, always.
I A big part about self-love too for me is that inner voice and being really intentional and paying attention to it and then being really intentional with our words, both spoken aloud and also that inner voice that we speak to ourselves. And, um, just having grace for those moments that we feel like we messed up or made a mistake or whatever. I even using those terms to me doesn't resonate, because we're all on a journey. We make the best decision we can in the moment, and if afterwards we realize, well, that wasn't a good decision, well, then I learned from it, right? It's just so being very intentional with the words that I use and then that inner voice, and not when I feel like I'm judging myself or I'm shaming myself or I'm blaming myself, like feeling the feeling, right? Like let's feel the feeling, but then transmuting that into something more positive and having grace and compassion and love for myself rather than sitting in that place of shame and judgment.
And for anyone who doesn't know, um, and if Kelly's too articulate for people, transmuting is
Oh,
taking a bad, negative, not bad, but a negative or a something that's painful, let's say pains, blame, shame, guilt, hurting, fears, insecurities, self doubts, anything that has a negative connotation on how you're looking at self, because it's really all about looking at self, right? Like everything's about looking at self because that's what we reflect out. So it's taking those emotions, feelings, whatever they are, and repurposing them into a positive light is probably the simplest explanation I can give.
yeah.
And then there's people in life that are just naturally transmuters, right? And I'm not one, but there are people that can do that. For me, I have to think about it sometimes. I have to, really put intention into, oh, this is a negative thought. How do I switch this, or how do I flip this? Right? It's the reframing, the flipping around a little bit. How do I put this into a light that benefits me rather than takes away from me? And it doesn't mean I didn't make the mistake. It just means that I've got to, look at the lesson in it.
I want to encourage you in that maybe you don't naturally do it, but with practice, it becomes more natural, because I have seen that in you. I've seen in your growth that it used to be extremely difficult and it is getting easier for you. That you have tools and you have practice, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. So I
I,
want
I
to
just
encourage you in that.
I just figured I got obsessed with healing, and I'm just so anal about shit and so hyper acutely self aware that I didn't give myself a choice.
Yeah.
But yes, I appreciate that. And I'm not deflecting the appreciation. I truly appreciate that. And
Yeah.
again, it's been a lot of work, right? Like, I mean, me and you talk daily. I mean, we've talked daily for years, right? So mostly there was periods of time that we had dark periods, but that's okay. On both sides. But it's true though. We do the work. We do a lot of work. We're always working on ourselves. We're always being vulnerable and trying to inspire others, because part of that is our healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got to tell you, I am a selfish bastard. Because by me coming on here and putting my shit into the world and acknowledging it and owning it and being accountable, I feel better.
Yeah.
I'm scared shitless at times, but I do feel better.
It is. It's healing. It's like that. It's like what Mandy said in our preview episode about um, the shame parts being what we need to share. Shame doesn't live in, or shame thrives in darkness, in secrecy. And when you voice it, it it has nowhere to go. Like it doesn't survive anymore. It's not. I'm losing words here, but um, it's healing, right? When we share those shame parts, it's healing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like secrets are one of the biggest triggers for me, right? Because of my childhood and what I went through, and I felt like I always had to keep secrets. I
Yeah.
always had to. I couldn't ever share my truth,
Yeah.
right? The truth sets us free,
Yep.
and secrets kill us, like slowly suffocate and
Yep.
kill us.
Yep.
And it's nearly impossible to be our best selves when keeping any secrets. And maybe coming on air and sharing it with the world's not for everybody. Although I think it could be. And I think, if that was the case, we would use telepathy instead of cell phones. But, everybody has too much to hide. So telepathy wouldn't be good. Um,
That's funny.
it's, we're scared of it. We're scared of
Yeah.
people knowing what we think, right?
Yeah.
We're scared of, man, we're all screwed up. We all have crazy thoughts. We all call ourselves pieces of shit at times. We all beat ourselves down and accident and unintentionally make fun of others and sometimes judge others, right? We make thank you, Susan, for stopping by, and we'll be back every Wednesday. Mandy will join us when able. And we'll all join when able, right? Like it's the best we can do at times. Um, I didn't really mean to point her out. That was rude. She's working in something intense, so I don't want to diminish that. Um, but like we all say those things, we all do those things, we all. I don't think anybody, maybe Buddha, maybe the Dalai Lama, maybe uh, maybe those few. But if you're talking about 30, 40 people out of 8 billion, then I promise you we're in the great majority of people that screw up daily, of thoughts that run through our head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all we have to do is just own it. Just own it. Like, there's no shame in making mistakes. The shame is when the mistakes go to secrecy, go to burying, then turn into shame,
Yeah.
right? And nobody can make us feel anything that we don't feel about ourselves.
And I think we have to end pretty soon, but I want to like say to that, you mentioned um, it doesn't mean that you have to like share it like on a platform like this publicly, whatever. And maybe for some people it is. For you, that is your like that is how you heal. Um, but I think it is important to have someone that you can release that with. That if it's not this on a public platform to everyone, if it's not that, to have a coach or a therapist or a friend who you can be 100% transparent and honest with, that so that there are no secrets, so that you are not duplicitous. um, I think it's that's really really important.
I think for me, right, and I can only speak for myself. I'm not speaking for any other living being on this planet. I've made that mistake many times, and it just always backfires. So I'm trying not to. Uh, Maybe the lizard out front because he's been walking in circles for a week, so I could probably speak for him. He seems confused. But for me, since everything in my life was a secret and everything was always behind this veil of this outward looking perfection or I'm the black sheep, the family's perfect, all these different dynamics. I think that's why I'm so radically transparent.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything to hide. I want to hide nothing because when I'm not hiding anything from anyone, I feel free, like true personal freedom.
Yeah.
There's nothing that gets in my way.
Yeah.
And I spent so many years feeling duplicitous and so many years not trusting anyone else and so many years at the core of it not trusting myself. And through self love and through self appreciation and through the doing work and really working on myself, really wanting to be better or the best version of myself each day, I have to live in transparency. Now, that's a high ask for people that are close to me, right? Like, I mean, that means that if you're close to me, there's a chance that you're getting blown out the fucking water. Excuse me, sorry, that was cursing. But there is.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a really good point that in order for you to live in your truth, um, if there are things between you, like if there was something between us that I felt like that was something I didn't want to share, but it is something you want to share, that doesn't align, right? And so that can create conflict. Um, so yeah, it is. It's but I think that you are very open and honest about that from day one. You know what you get with
Yeah.
you know, and so it's a choice that people make in being in your life. If that crosses some boundary that they have, then they limit what they share with you, or they limit their.
And I'm at a point where I'm comfortable enough in my own skin. I know what value I bring to the table. I know my personal value. I know who I am as a person. And I'm comfortable enough to let people go that it doesn't fit, because I can truthfully, honestly, to my core say that I will not compromise my values, myself, to fit anybody else's version of me ever again.
And that is such an important part of self-love, is being okay losing people. I have to run.
Sounds good.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you, world. You heard me drop the F bomb too, so we're good. We crossed all lines today, so that's
We
good.
did.
We did. Can't wait to see what topic will be next week, and God only knows what I'll say. So we'll just run with it.
All right.
Always bring popcorn. You never know.
Happy Wednesday.
Have an amazing
great rest
week.
of your day.
Bye.